There have been a couple different narratives. There's low hire, low fire environment. And then we've also heard about a no hire, no fire environment. Is that what we're in?
Yeah, I don't think you can even discern the difference between the two at this point. When you figure your starting point is there are 170 million jobs in the United States. So if you're talking about even 100,000 jobs, companies last month announced plans, according to Challenger, Gray and Christmas, to add 117,000 jobs. Now that's worldwide. That's not just in the United States. So it's really hard to figure out the impact of all this stuff. I think that when you look at the Challenger data, and we don't usually consider it a frontier level.
I was thinking the same thing. Like yesterday we're talking ADP, today we're talking Challenger, Grand Christmas.
Welcome to the new world order.
The problem with Challenger is that it is A, worldwide, and B, it doesn't account for time periods. So when companies say they're going to release people, how long is that going to take? How many of them might be moved into other jobs? How much is attrition versus firing? So it isn't an easy read to say this is going to happen because they said that. But you can sort of take trends from it. When you see a big increase, as we did earlier in the summer, of layoffs, you get an impression that, people are cutting back. And we saw that during when all the tech companies were cutting a year ago.
Yeah.
Now they're saying that the plans to add jobs is the weakest September hiring intentions since 2011. And they say that companies are at the low end of estimates for hiring people for the holiday season. So you could probably say those are relatively accurate observations of the labor situation at the moment.
Did you see, and forgive me if I mispronounce, Revelio Labs? They had some data out today. It showed employment increased about 60,000 in September, an improvement from a month earlier. Again, strange times. We would never normally probably talk about this.
Well, they're new anyway, so we're just getting used to their data. We haven't got a lot to benchmark it with it. But the overall, the 60,000 jobs they say were likely added in September is within the scope of what economists were thinking in terms of the non-farm payrolls. They say 57,000 in private sector jobs. Again, that's sort of in line with what was expected. So you can take that for what it's worth. We'll see how close they came when we finally do get the data. And if it turns out to be a very reliable indicator, then of course everybody's going to start following that.
Mike, Carol, go ahead, Carol.
No, go, please.
So I wanted to go with what Carol mentioned about the federal workers and the president's meeting with Russell Vought of OMB, Project 2025. We know how Russell Vought thinks about federal employees, and increasingly the president making it clear that during a shutdown, this could be an opportunity to actually fire thousands of federal employees. What do you think is the economic impact of that, or could it be?
Well, it could have an economic impact depending on how, let me put it this way, it will have an economic macro impact on the country depending on how many people are fired. Obviously, has a big economic impact on any particular person who loses their job.
Yes.
I think one starting place for thinking about any of this is that the president can get rid of federal workers any time if he follows the proper procedures in the Administrative Procedures Act. So this is really just an excuse, using the shutdown as an excuse to fire people. They chopped thousands of people from the federal payrolls, the Doge people did, and that wasn't during a shutdown. So, I wouldn't take the here's an opportunity thing. Yeah, it's an opportunity for PR, but it's not a reason why they have to cut people. It's not the shutdown is requiring them to cut anybody. Then it just depends on who's cut and where they're cut. The state with the most number of federal employees is California, and so if you cut all the people in California, you're going to have a big impact there, but maybe less of an impact than you would have in Maryland or Virginia, which are third and second on the list and are concentrated right around the Washington, D.C. area. Obviously, a big reduction in force there would have a big impact on the local economies.
We should point out that the president did put out a social media post earlier today saying, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. He goes on to say, I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. And of course, signed by the president.
Just one thing that struck me about this post, Mike, was the way that during the campaign, if we were talking a year ago, the president, before he was elected for this term, really distanced himself from Project 2025.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to do any of that.
They delayed the publication of the book that had the foreword by Russell. You know, that's completely, he's embraced it.
I think the president's relationship with the truth is something everybody realizes is not very tight. So you kind of have to take that into consideration. And then all of the florid language that Carol was reading, that's the way he talks. And so it's really a question for economics of what is the actual impact going to be. And for that, as I said, we need to know who's being cut and where they're being cut.
We want to bring someone in. One last question to you, and then you're going to join us in this roundtable. But when you look, you always remind us 1 month's report and so on and so forth. At this point, we look at the trend line, and I pulled up non-farm payrolls. Of course, we are not expecting a read tomorrow, but the trend line has been for lower and lower job creation.
Yes, I mean, if you look at the other indicators that have come out this week, the ISM manufacturing report's still under 50, suggesting contraction or very low hiring. The ADP report, which obviously got a lot of people's attention, suggesting low hiring. And then when you look at the Conference Board's consumer confidence numbers about job availability, they are the lowest since 2021. So people are absorbing the idea that it isn't a great labor market right now.